Wee, don't tell me you're at Mountain Lakes with all of your friends. Wee, don't tell me you're gonna start talking about craft beer again. We're cracking wise on random craft beer news, hanging out with brewers, owners, and maltsters, doing interviews. A wee chose, a wee chose, a wee chose, a wee show. It's a wee chose, a wee chose, a wee chose, a wee show.
From the Brewhouse stage at Mountain Lakes Brewing Company in downtown Spokane, Washington, this is Wheat Don't Tell Me, Spokane's craft beer live audience show and podcast. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have a beer fund. Like, it's my own personal thing just for me. I put 20% of everything I make into a little jar. I call it my Davings account. I'm Dave Basaraba, and here is your host, Chris Cindric.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody. We've got a precious show for you tonight. Yes, Jeff and Candace Clark from Spokane's very own Precious Things Fermentation Project are our special guests tonight. And as always, I am joined by Dave Basaraba of Mountain Lakes Brewing Company. We will be missing the comedy genius of Tim Hilton as he is off van lifing with his family for a few weeks.
But Tim gave me a phone call earlier. He said he just wanted to play a quick message for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Is that
cool?
Can we fit it in here?
Yeah, probably a heartwarming message from him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Most likely. Most things he says are heartwarming. But
Hey everyone, this is Tim. I want you to know that I'm on vacation. I won't be there tonight. It's a vacation from Chris Cindric. He's such a whiny nerd. He acts like he knows everything about beer. Oh, and talk about my saisons. Let's talk about this. Let's do this. I know something about lambics. I know everything. But anyway, I'm sad I can't be there, and I miss you all. Please have a beer for me, okay?
Oh, that was good. I mean, it's so endearing.
yeah.
Yes.
And a lot less editing we'll have to do
That's
with him
right.
right here.
That's right.
So
did he say have a beer on him?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So have a beer on
Yeah.
him. Well, just give, thanks, Tim, and we'll give you the bill when you get back, you son of a bitch. Dave, good to be with you tonight. It's hot out there. How have you been beating the heat lately? You keeping cool out there?
I've really been enjoying the lawnmower beers. It's my style for Spokane this summer.
Oh, so, explain lawnmower beers. What do you mean by that?
Well, I just take everything that ends up in the bag, and I put that in the mash. Is that what we do?
Oh, so then, yeah, you have, what kind of grass do you have?
Well, I have mostly Citra.
Oh, Kentucky Citra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it came in the Spokane blend. I got it at Spokane Boys.
Okay.
Grow your own beer.
Right, there you go. Yeah. And hey, so speaking of lawnmower beers, I believe you have the Lester Cup Brew-Off coming up, and isn't that your theme for the Lester Cup Brew-Off? For your lawnmower beers?
Lawnmower. I thought he said brew a lot more beer.
Oh, not
brew a lawnmower beer?
Brew a lot.
Oh, crap. I completely misunderstood him before he left town.
So you're sitting on some beer?
I'm sitting on about 30 barrels of this.
There you go.
That's a little bit much.
That's a lot of beer. Well, to start the show off, we like to ask important people who work in the craft beer industry questions about what they do and how they do it. It's called Not My Beer. Please welcome tonight's Not My Beer guests from Precious Things Fermentation Project, Jeff and Candace Clark. Welcome, Candace and Jeff. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you bet. So I got to tell a little story to begin with because of all the experiences I think I've had in Spokane, drinking beer. One of the most treasured is the first time I ever came to Precious Things. It was like a slap in the face of nostalgia because I was driving down that little road to get to your house, and it just brought me back to those little farmhouses that you find in Germany and Belgium. Like a serendipitous kind of experience where you're just on the road and then somebody says, hey, instead of going here, you should go to my brother-in-law. He actually brews beer. And then you end up at this magical place. And if you haven't been to Precious Things, it is quite the experience. Not only is the beer good, but the atmosphere is like just, it's unbelievable. So it really is something special. So for our audience members and listeners out there, let's start off with, I guess, the general overview. What is Precious Things Fermentation project?
Well, that's exactly what we were looking for. Like, so we lived in Germany for a few years, and nearby our place, our neighbors that were all German, they were saying, hey, we're going to go to Nature Freunde House, which basically is Friends of Nature's house. And we're like, okay, fine. And so we all go hiking through the woods with our dogs, and we end up in this clearing, and there's a building that's an inn and a bar and a big fire pit and everything. And the only way to get there, other than delivery, is by walking there. And so it was kind of the whole thing of being this little like oasis or place in the middle of nowhere, and you can have good craft beer there.
Right, okay. So built fully off of those German experiences is kind of what you...
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the tasting room, if anybody's been in there, they can see that there's a lot of English, German, Belgian, basically just European influences, but we also have a lot of old memorabilia from other beer places in the States as well. But the whole idea is it's just kind of being an homage to beer. We
Right.
love beer. We love all the styles of beer. We love the whole just community and idea of beer.
Awesome, that's great. And with the development of that, how did you choosing your location? So when you decided to open a brewery, where were you in life? Were you located here in Spokane? How did you choose the location that you currently established?
The whole idea is that we knew that it had to be zoned correctly and it had to be out of town. It couldn't be where it was. And we found this, we had been looking at tons of places. We had put in offers at a bunch of places that would have actually been better as far as a brewing place.
Right.
But none of those worked out. And when we came into this place, Kenny was like, no way,
I was like,
that's
we're not
gonna
looking
work.
at that house because it's way too small.
And she was right. It is way too small.
Right.
But we went and looked at it anyway, and as soon as we drove in, there was a bunch of German words on different different parts of the buildings, and just the style of it.
And it was
we
just
fell in
charming, and we did
Couldn't
fall in
help
love
it.
with it.
Yeah,
was
and it's
love
it
at
is
first sight.
it is an atmosphere that you feel like you could be in the woods of Germany. Was it painted the way it's painted when you got?
Almost exactly what it was when we moved.
Okay, so it was that red style.
Yep.
And everything. So if you haven't been up, there's a main house that looks like the very similar to the I guess it's the barn, right, or the garage.
That was the garage.
It was the
yeah.
garage, but it's barn looking, right? Kind of like
All of it looks like a
farmhouse,
barn.
right?
Everything looks like
Yeah,
a barn.
if you think about a red barn, I guess, then it's kind of that look. But when you pull up the driveway, you feel like you're trespassing. Now you have a bigger parking lot, so it doesn't feel as trespassing as it used to. The first time I drove, there was nobody in the parking lot. I was the first one to come in, and when I drove in, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I'm at the right place.
And then Jeff, it's
we
his
almost
tradition.
shot you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he greets everyone with a shotgun.
With the shotgun.
And I'm just like, you gotta stop that, man. That's
Right.
gonna chase people away.
And you have those two vicious dogs.
And yet
Yeah.
we still do it.
So vicious.
It's just so much fun.
He is wearing a traditional German like wool coat and a
right.
hat, so it's part friendly. Also, wow, what a gun!
Yeah, so it's quite the experience, and but you did a significant amount of remodeling of the actual garage, and then creating your brew house. So tell us a little bit about the setup that you have, and what, if people haven't been there, what that looks like.
Yeah, so like you said, the tasting room itself, the bar, and all that was a garage, and it was a super scary garage. It was not a place that you would want to spend any time in. Hopefully it is better now, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
better.
I can only imagine what you tell me it used to be, but it's amazing.
Oh, no, it was really scary. The brewery itself used to be a workshop. So the lady that built the place, Mary Caraba, she built it in 1960, and she was a chemistry teacher and also a potter, and so there was an oven house with a kiln in the back. So it's a really cool property, and we're trying to figure out how to incorporate that in. But she had this garage that looks like a barn, and it was not okay. And so we had to do a lot of work there. and then there was a breezeway between the two to get to the oven house. That's now closed off now because that's the bathroom for the tasting room. So now it looks like one big building, like it's always been that way because we used the siding from each side to try to make it look that way. But yeah, it's a ton of work, and it's not ideal. It's way too small. Tasting room, brewery, all of it's way too small, but that's what we're doing.
It reminds me of, my sister lived in Heidelberg for 6 years, and I studied in Salzburg, and so we spent a lot of time crisscrossing Europe. And in Heidelberg, my sister lived in Mühlhausen, just outside, and across the field in front of their house was a brewer. The family lived upstairs, and the tap room was down below, and it wasn't much larger than what you have now, but everyone in the neighborhood was in there every night. And this was 20 years before COVID, so we were all just like shoulder to shoulder kissing each other.
Right.
But I mean, you've created what I remember, and the closest thing I've ever seen in the States.
Thank you. And we did live in Germany, and yes, if that's how we can live in that house.
Right.
Yeah, the neighborhood pub,
Right.
the European neighborhood pub, is Precious Things Fermentation.
Yeah. Well, let's go there. How did you get the name Precious Things? Where's that? And fermentation. I always think about when I'm, I think anybody who's into beer thinks about, well, what if I open a brewery? What would I call my brewery? And so we used to be mainly just everybody called a brewing company. And then sometimes it's beer. But now we have like
these guys.
Yeah. So then
Terrible.
how did you come up with the Precious Things component, and then also why fermentation project?
So the main thing was we were big fans of a Massachusetts brewery that was a couple just like us called Pretty Things Beer Project. They had really good beer. They did a lot of saisons, a lot of farmhouse styles, like what we want to do, and we liked their artwork and the whole thing, but they closed, and we didn't want to be Precious Things Beer Company because it seemed like it was too close. And we always, I did anyway, Crux Fermentation Project in Bend.
Right.
I always liked that, even though now I wish I just would have just called it fermentation only, no project.
Why?
We don't have
Because
a project?
because
I feel like it's a project.
No,
it's
it's
an ongoing project.
No, it's an ongoing project. But like on Instagram, it doesn't even show the project. It
Right.
just says fermentation, and other people have been like, "Oh, that's such a cool name," and I was like, "Oh, I should have just left it that way. I didn't know."
You could probably just
You
change
can
it.
just change it.
Drop it.
Yeah, it's a thing now.
No,
It's a thing.
So we were
That no one knows about.
We went hiking.
PTF.
We
Well,
went,
that's the other thing.
that.
I said fermentation company would have been cool because then it could have been PTFC. Right? I didn't. That's a missed
Combining my
opportunity
two
because
favorite things in the whole world.
we're Portland Timbers fans and
Yes.
Thorns fans, so that would have worked.
Oh.
That would have worked, but I didn't even think about it.
we went hiking one day.
I'm an idiot.
Remember that day?
Yes.
When we came up with our name.
Oh, well, yes, but there's so many. So the thing, just like with naming beers, you're trying to find something that no one else has done, and
Which is
everyone's
impossible.
done everything.
Yes.
So, yeah, we did a bunch of different names, went through them all,
Like-
and then we were walking the dogs, and I said, "What do you think about Precious Things?" And she was like, maybe
It sounds
okay.
like an antique store.
Yeah, no, I know. It sounds like we sell doilies,
Right.
for sure.
But you do sell
But-
doilies.
but
the
that's
beer,
good.
We completely do.
You know, for people that are
Right.
buying beer, they're like,
And
no, it wasn't a
It would be
brewery.
located in a community, like a residential community called like Mountain Lakes.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Which we found out is actually a town in New Jersey. And
Yeah.
before we had even opened, we had a website up, and they were phoning us, and they're like, "Can we get T-shirts and cups that say Mountain Lakes Brewing?" We're like, "Yes, we would love to sell you stuff. We haven't even brewed a batch."
Yeah.
So anyway, the Precious Things are
So, go ahead.
Oh, well, so our dogs are hops and barley. And so we think of them as precious. We
And
think
their
of hops,
ingredients
actual
that are
hops
precious.
and barley as precious. Beer is precious. We also really liked early Tori Amos stuff, and she had a song called Precious Things. And so it just and it mirrored the Pretty Things.
And so then, how did you get into brewing? What was the road to then opening Precious Things?
We love beer.
Okay.
And so we wanted to make beer. especially beers that we couldn't get.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Like, so the whole thing is I think most people, you either get into home brewing because you want to make beer cheaper so you don't have to go buy it, or you want to make beers that you can't get
Right. Okay.
readily available. So because we were in Europe so long, we acquired taste for beers. Sorry, this sounds like it's not working. Okay. So we acquired taste for beers that they didn't exist. No one was making them. So we're like, oh, I guess we have to make them now. So
Right.
I started trying to make them.
Yeah, you tried.
Very, very poorly.
They were not very good at first.
Sometimes they were.
No, it's
okay.
crazy.
Sometimes, yes.
Most
No,
brewers I've met, their first beers were amazing. What
Yeah,
was
I know,
different
it's
about
weird.
your
Right.
experience?
I think it was a lot of issues.
What happened?
No, the weird part is so we did a totally non-scientific way of making. We tried to be just like, oh, it's like cooking. So we'll just
Sort of.
We'll just like throw in whatever. Oh, I've got this. That's close enough. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So the problem, though, when you do that is you are going to make a lot of terrible beers, but you might make a good beer. But when you make the good beer, you
How you
can't
gonna do it again?
remake
You
it
can't
again.
replicate.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so then I learned about the difference between screwing around and science. Screwing around is just doing stuff. Science is writing it down. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So now we're scientists apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least zymurgists.
Definitely
Or
Zymurgist.
Zymologists?
Zymologist.
Zythologists?
Zymurology?
I think it's
Psychologist.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like a
sounds
psychologist
good.
sometimes when I'm serving beer. But
So then, what style? So you're talking about your influences in drinking German beer. I know you have a Belgium focus as well, which are two distinct beer styles. But like, what are your favorite beer styles to brew? And then also, do you have people that are mentors that you kind of look to that have influenced your brewing?
So style-wise, pretty much everything, as long as we're not making. I won't make an American blonde or an American amber, but I'll make. So people have asked me to do that, and I said, no, I'll do an alt beer.
Right.
But I'm not going to do that just because I'm not going to make anything that I'm not passionate about. Even though I don't get to drink it because we don't make enough beer, so we don't get to drink it anymore other than tasting it to make sure it's okay. But yeah, farmhouse, especially saisons, all Belgian styles, all German styles, English styles, whatever. I mean, we're up for anything. We do hazy IPAs.
you'll do a hazy IPA, but you won't do an American blonde, Jeff.
Yes,
Right.
that's
He's done an
true.
American
line.
blonde.
That's exactly
Yeah.
true.
Oh.
I'll do a Belgian strong blonde, but I
Okay.
won't
Oh.
do. Yeah. No, in fact, I mean, I don't want to let anybody know too much secrets, but we're actually doing a
Yeah,
mixed,
don't tell people what you're brewing. They hate that.
a mixed berry milkshake IPA.
Oh.
What? Crazy.
Sounds
My
delicious.
gosh. All right.
It
Well,
might
that's
be.
our show.
I don't know. We've never made it before, so
Good.
it might be terrible.
So
And maybe I'll be drinking that one.
Yeah. So with that, you've also, I think, experimented with a variety of techniques. Is there anything kind of unique or crazy that you've done that you'd want to share with everybody?
I mean, the craziest thing, two craziest things that we've done is we've tried to do a traditional sautée, which is a Finnish beer, and we've used a Kerna, which is basically a lauter tun or a filter that is made out of part of a tree, and it's a no boil beer, which is unusual. There's a lot of unique things about it,
Right.
and it's been very popular. She was like, "Don't do that. No one wants to drink that," and yet, because
People
there's a
do.
story, right? You can show them the Kerna, you can show them the crock that you're fermenting in and mashing in, and it's just a different experience. It's not normal. It's not something that people are doing here. They're not even doing it in Finland hardly anymore. So
No,
that's
but
kind of cool.
we
And-
were inspired by Paul from Ale Apothecary. I think.
Oh yeah, backed on your influences.
Right.
I don't have mentors really because no one's really taken us under their wing,
Right.
so to speak. But so Paul Arnett from Ale Apothecary, Gabe, I think it's Kaplan from Anchorage. I mean, these guys their beers have inspired me. Not so much them, just because I don't know them, but I would like to. I'm sure they're listening, so they should.
Oh, everybody listens.
They're
So I'm sure they should. They're going to reach out any minute.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool.
Collaboration.
And then
my phone's
obviously-
ringing.
Obviously, Dave Basaraba has been a huge influence. He's not told me or helped me at all, but I really want him to. So maybe someday.
Someday you'll have Basarab.
Yeah. Yeah, I critique. I
Oh,
usually go,
no,
oh
it's
man,
only-
Jeff,
it's-
this tastes better than mine.
Right. Yeah.
That's not
So I'm
true.
not sending anyone up there anymore.
And you had mentioned too that Lars Garshall, right? Is that
Yes,
which is-
so his whole that's the other thing that we're doing with that finish, the whole saute and the Forgotten Farmhouse stuff. So there's a guy named Lars who's from the Netherlands. He basically, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Kwijk yeast. Yes, all of that that yeast, all the families of that have existed for thousands of years, and the Western world knew nothing about it until about 5 years ago. And he's the reason. So he started doing a blog. He started going around to all these Eastern European countries and finding all the farmhouse brewers and capturing this information before they all died off because their kids aren't interested. And so the styles are going away. And he found these yeast strains that are incredible. They love to be underpitched, which is super not normal for yeast.
But
They-
cost effective.
Yeah, very cost effective. They
And
also love high temperatures, which is also not normal,
Yeah.
also cost effective.
less cycle.
And they're incredibly fast, also,
Also
cost effective. So, yeah, they're incredible. And we, like, the States and Canada only know about these because of this one guy.
Right.
And his
Lars Ulrich, he's from different Lars.
Lars Garshall.
yeah.
Different
Lars Ulrich is Metallica, I believe.
He traveled around selling yeast
He
in between
sucks.
shows.
He sucks.
Yeah.
No, but Lars Garshall is awesome, and he did all this stuff. He wrote a book too about historical brewing traditions or something like that. Traditional brewing, can't remember the name, but we have it. We love it. It's awesome.
Right. And you had mentioned that it's the Kurna. What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Kuurna, I believe.
right. Kurna,
Yeah.
and that is literally just sitting in front of the brewery. When you get there, it looks like a feeding trough. Maybe, right? People might mistake it. Yeah.
No, the dogs eat out of that for sure. It's normal.
Most difficult challenges that you've faced since opening the brewery.
Well, I can't drink our beer anymore because we don't make enough of it. That's one challenge.
So back when
Well, we were homebrewing
Right.
in our house, and we had, people would come over and drink our beer. We would drink our beer. And now that we're public, we
This-
don't have enough.
this
So
not-
he limits me to like 2 pints or whatever. So
This
You
one's
are
gonna
not
sell
supposed
really
to have
well.
2 pints.
well,
is way too
I
much.
do sneak some.
you sneak,
I do.
when I went up and I talked to you guys earlier before the show, and then you had mentioned that, and I felt it really tore at my heart.
Well, there's
So,
a jar that
I
says
wanted-
Candace Fund.
Wait, look what I got. I made
Oh my
you the
gosh.
candy jar.
Ah, that is awesome.
And what this will be is something you can maybe set on your counter, but I'll pass this around tonight if you want to contribute to help Candy
So
buy
I
beer.
can drink our
Dave and I
beer.
emptied, just to show we're not cheap asses,
Yeah.
we emptied our car ashtrays of all the coins that were in there. So I think you're starting out with about 27 cents.
And just so you know,
Those
the,
That's
don't
awesome.
look like coins.
the nickels are from me.
They're coins. So anyway,
That's awesome.
I'll pass that around, and if anybody wants to contribute to the candy jar, by all means do so, and we'll help Candy start drinking.
Thank you
some of
so
that
much
beer. You
for
bet.
that.
That's how we roll around here. So anyway,
That's awesome. Thank you.
So you have a beer festival coming up, which unfortunately I know is, fortunately, actually, it's already sold out. But I do want to have you talk a little bit about that because I think it goes within that unique realm of like beer festivals again, something that will be a very unique experience for the people that go there, and it's called Among the Pines. So tell us a little about that. I know you're connected with Yaya with that. So what's the story behind Among the Pines?
All right, so Among the Pines it's going to be a really super cool event, but it's really limited. That's why it's already sold out. It's only 110 tickets, and don't know why my voice just did that. But the idea was Jason Goss from Yaya, because he's been living in Maine, and there's a brewery called Oxbow Brewing, and they do a thing called Goods from the Woods. And it's just them. There's no other breweries involved. But he was like, dude, we could do something like that here. Well, the permit, you can't do that unless you have unless you're a charity, which Live Like Laura Foundation that they have is. So, yeah, they're, all the proceeds are going to the Live Like Laura Foundation. And it's going to be super cool. It's going to be like 15 or 16 right now, Spokane breweries that are all in, basically in the woods around our place.
Right.
It's going to be really pretty much a shit show. And also
it's
awesome,
not.
once we figure it out, I mean,
It's
we're going to
our
learn
first
so
time.
much this time, but we're going to have live music. We're going to have some food trucks. We're going to have Big Daddy's Banh Mi's and
Tamale box.
tamale box, and then you get a 13-ounce Belgian branded glass, and when you leave with a half liter bottle of our Among the Pines collab that we did with them, and we just bottled that this last week, and it is delicious. It's a mixed fermentation
Did Candy get
saison.
Did you get any?
Not yet.
She got to taste a little bit, and that's
Oh,
pretty much
I finished
it.
the bottle, honey.
Yeah, she's not going to get much, but
Oh,
look at
candy
this
jar.
That
The
jar
candy
is
jar
full.
just filled up.
That is pretty full.
She might
There's
get
a
a
really happy
beer.
Lincoln.
about that.
There's a Lincoln in there.
Thank you so
Wow.
much.
She might get a beer.
That's
wow,
crazy.
crazy.
I'm telling you.
Oh, we forgot to say that our pints are $12, so
It's not.
they're not.
No, but the festival is about community, I feel like.
Yes.
Well, it's just charity.
And all-
Like the whole
all
thing
the
is to
brewers
give back.
Bringing, a special beer
Right.
and
And explain a little bit about Live Like Laura, because I don't know if a lot of people know about how Yaya started. I mean, actually, to speak of Jason and Crystal, if you're looking for the podcast next month, we'll have Yaya on. So we
Yeah,
get to have
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Whatever. So tell us a little about the Live Like Laura.
Yes, so if you don't know already, the Yaya Brewing, the whole name is from their sister Laura, who died in a tragic accident. She was a law student, and so they give back to a number of different charities the foundation does, including a scholarship for law students. So the way the name came about was Jason, the youngest brother, couldn't say Laura's name, so he called her Yaya, and that's why the brewery
That's why
is
they're
Yaya
Yaya.
Brewing. And so proceeds from all of their Angel IPA, I think it's 10% of all those sales, also go to the foundation as well. And then everything from this festival is all going back to them. Like we're really just hosting it, other than that we're doing the collaboration with them. It's on our property because we can do it, but it's really all going
we
back to
just
the
want
foundation.
people to come and have a good time and drink some beer.
And you have one of the
And-
coolest properties to go do that.
Right.
I mean, seriously.
What could go wrong?
Lots of tripping,
Tripping.
lots of impalements on branches and pine cones.
Right.
I'm going to bring my unicycle, and I also like to juggle fire flaming balls.
These are all great
No fire?
ideas.
Right.
No fire.
No fires.
No fires.
Oh, but this is in August. It'll be fine. It'll be cleared by then.
Completely fine.
Everything's getting better. Well, you're definitely a couple that is seen out and about, supporting and drinking at a number of Spokane breweries. What is the best thing about Spokane craft beer scene right now?
Thanks for mentioning that we're alcoholics.
No, it's just because you're out and about.
We like to support other breweries.
Yeah, it's the easiest
Yeah.
way to cover up my habit. I was like, honey, I'm opening a brewery.
We
It's
love
not
that-
weird that I drink every day now.
We
This
love
is
that
literally
we can,
our job.
We love that we can go out and wherever you end up, there's always someone that we know and that we can talk about, brewing and
No, I think just talk about. We just talk about them.
talk about other people.
Hey, Boss Robbins, Tim here? No. Well, that motherfucker owes me.
Let me tell you what he did last time we were out. No, I look at their Instagram and I'm jealous. Like, you guys are always out and about supporting the other breweries out there, doing your thing, and it's awesome because you guys are going out and connecting all of us in a way that otherwise wouldn't happen. So,
Yeah.
jealous and thankful. So,
Yeah.
I'm thankful for you, dude.
Well, Jeff and Candace, it has been a true pleasure talking with you and learning about Precious Things. Thank you so much for joining us for Not My Beer. That wraps up the first part of our show. We'll now take a break, and we'll be back in a few with Candace, Jeff, and Dave, and an audience contestant for a little game we call Beer Limericks.
So we chose, so we chose, so we chose, so we chose. So we chose, so we chose, so we chose, so we chose.
welcome back to the Brewhouse stage at Mountain Lakes Brewing Company in downtown Spokane, Washington. This is Wheat, Don't Tell Me, Spokane's craft beer live audience show and podcast. And now, once again, your host, Chris Cindric.
Thank you, Dave. And now the game where you have to listen for the rhyme. It's called Beer Limericks. We've asked an audience member to step up to the challenge. Hello and welcome. Tell us your name and a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Meg. I'm from the Deep South. I came home about like a month ago to Mobile. Then I came back up to Spokane. Been living here for almost a year. And I was like, you know what? I like Spokane better. So I'm staying here for another year. Woo! Thank you.
All right. So from Mobile, and what brought you to Spokane?
Yeah, I'm a volunteer here in town through JVC Northwest / AmeriCorps, big service organization in the U.S. Yeah, so I'm a volunteer here.
Great. And so AmeriCorps still does, you do volunteer work, but then it also pays for future college tuition, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's helping us out a lot. It pays for our housing. We get community stipends, so groceries, gas, all that good stuff. And then we do have a scholarship at the end of JVC Northwest. JVC National doesn't, but the Northwest one does. Woo, Northwest. So that's going to help with law school, hopefully, in like a year.
Nice.
When I go there.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. Wow. That is most excellent. I'm
you.
so psyched that you are our contestant.
Thank
This
you.
makes me very excited. Well, welcome to the show, Meg. Here's what we're going to do at this point of the show. Dave is going to read 3 beer-related limericks with the last word or phrase missing from each. If you can fill in that last word or phrase correctly in 2 of the limericks, you will be a winner. Free beer in a pint glass.
Woo! Okay, sweet.
All right, are you ready to play?
I'm ready.
All right, so Meg, in recognition of Precious Things Fermentation Project, your limericks tonight deal with farmhouse beers. Farmhouse beers. And I will
Okay, nice.
say that your panel can be an asset for you if you do need help.
Oh, they
Jeff
can
sure
be?
can be
They
an ass.
can be.
Sweet.
So here is your first limerick.
She once only drank Dom Perignon, while in France with her hot liaison. She learned to drink beer in Belgium one year, so now she only drinks. Rhymes with
Saison. Oh, I love saisons. Saison.
Saisons. Well, it's a shame Tim Hilton isn't here. He does love his saisons. those wonderful fruity, spicy beers with all those amazing esters, and now so many varieties in the craft beer world. What saisons? What is it? You said you love saisons. What is it about saisons?
I do. Well, I like to get like the fruity saisons because I love beer, but I love it with like a fruity taste. So it's just a good mix for me.
Nice, very good.
Thank
and
you.
Any current saisons on tap at Precious Things, or have you had? What are your primary saisons that you've brewed?
We've had a number of saisons. We don't have any right now, but we are going to be brewing on Sunday Down on the Farm, which is a saison.
Oh.
Belgian, little bit of mix of French and Belgian.
Well, Meg, here is your second limerick.
Some farmhouse beers are dankety. Other folks would say even stankety. If you're feeling the spunk, then bring on the funk and brew me an ale that's horse. I know this is going to be hard.
Blankety.
There you go.
And anyone that knows me knows how I love that barn house.
Right.
That barn stable smell.
That funk.
That funk.
That barn house. Oh, that barnyardy.
You need to.
What?
You need to embrace that.
No, I can't embrace that. It's amazing because beer is such a pleasurable experience for me. And then I was in France when I was 19, and I put that to my face, and the first whiff, I was like, oh, this one's gone off.
So we have one right now, our Soured House Ale, which is a Belgian Pale Ale with Brett, and it's very horse blankety. If that's
In a
the
good
thing.
way?
It's actually horse blanket, but
Yeah.
blankety works too.
Well, it's stank and blank and
But
dankety and.
I will say a lot of people love that, and it's super popular. Of
course.
We really love it. It's very complex. It's very, there's a lot of layers, but it is horse blanket. In fact, one of my coworkers in my real job, which is we're not talking about because it's terrible, but
You can't talk about it. The
no,
CIA doesn't.
I'm not.
allow
I'm not
it.
allowed to. It's federal government. I'm here to help. Never mind. But anyway, he was at our place, and we had a different beer on that was also Brett focused, and so it was very horse blanket tea. And yeah, so he drank a sip of it. We just gave him a taster, and he was like, "Oh, that is terrible. What is wrong with this beer?" I was like, "Oh, some people call it horse blanket." He's like, "Yes." He grew up on a horse farm his whole life. He was like, "Why? That's exactly what it is. Why would anybody want to put that in their mouth?"
I love this guy. We should totally hang out.
Yeah,
And there's
you
nothing
should,
wrong with the beers.
because you're both terrible.
Yeah, we're both
horrible
terrible people.
You don't like good beer.
Meg, here is your third limerick.
Yay! I'm ready.
And you've already won.
You've already won.
This is
Oh, don't
bonus
tell her.
points.
Don't
She
tell
knows.
You have to ace it to get the
We
beer.
revealed the rules at the
we're not going to
beginning.
help you on this one.
Yeah. This is on you. This is on you.
Some say it's how craft beer is christened, capped and stored in an upright position. The beer is alive, and CO2 thrives. Yeast is welcome when bottle...
Cartesian, condition.
Condition. Very good. Yes. It's not just home brewers without CO2 systems that bottle condition beers. Some of the most unique beers use bottle conditioning to allow the yeast to continue to do its magic. So, did you bottle condition for the Among the Pines?
The
Is it-
Among
yeah?
the Pines that we have going that's going to be people walk away with is bottle conditioned.
So
It's
tell
in
it-
bottles right now with sugars, and the yeast is going to town, and it's creating CO2 to carbonate. And yeah.
Well, Dave, how did Meg do on her quiz?
I don't know, but 3 for 3 looks like a win to me.
Congratulations, Meg. You've won our prize. Free beer and a pint glass. Meg, thank you for playing.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
We'll now take a break and be back in a few with Candace, Jeff, and Dave in a little game we call Brewers on Tap. We chose, we chose, we chose, we chose.
show, it's the wee show.
Welcome back to the Brewhouse stage at Mountain Lakes Brewing Company in downtown Spokane, Washington. This is Wheat Don't Tell Me, Spokane's craft beer live audience show and podcast with your host, Chris Cindric.
Thank you, Dave. And now for a game we call Brewers on Tap. Throughout the night, our audience members have had the chance to write down a question for one, a few, or all of our panelists. We've chosen a smackerel of them to ask our panel and tap into some of that brewer owner knowledge. Let's get started, shall we? So let's get going here. Here's a question that we have on tap. Is owning a brewery different than you thought it would be?
It's definitely different, but it's also cool. Like the whole idea behind it was we had a barrage, what we called a barrage, right? At our old house in Spokane, at our other house in Oregon, our attached garage was set up very similar to our tasting room, although with not the same amount of paraphernalia, but close. And we offered our neighbors and friends free homebrew and free commercial taps that we had on. Oh, yeah. And we had a tip jar that was never filled or even touched. In fact, Candy's jar right here is way more than we ever got, and we were giving them free beer. And now some of those same people come to the tap room, and not only do they pay us,
right,
but they also still put money in the tip jar. I was like, you guys are really bad because you could have just avoided all of this if you would just put tips in the tip jar.
So then you could have just been homebrewing
yes,
and supported.
They would have enjoyed it. We would have been able to drink it, and they wouldn't have had to pay as much.
We had a similar experience in the garage because we used to brew out of my garage for 3 years, and we did catering and weddings and stuff like that. And then we'd have beer left over, and we would just serve it to our friends. And we're like, hey, if you want to fill up a growler, just put like money on the workbench over there, and then fill up your growler across the thing. And it's not even, we don't need a license for this.
Right.
This is just you left money on my workbench, you klutz.
Okay. Here's a question for you. How did you navigate the choppy waters of the pandemic? And do you see any positive, oh shoot, I should have my, externalities. What it was, did I get it right? Externalities, such as outdoor seating, those types of things, tents.
The tent was our saving grace.
So the pandemic was tough because we got shut down, just like you guys did, for a couple months. And then they had the whole outdoor only, which was not a big deal in the summer, because like you said, we have outdoor seating,
right.
So it wasn't too big a deal. But then when it started getting smoky, we did have to close a couple of weeks, I think. And then when it went into winter, that was a problem because we're almost at, the foot of Mount Spokane. And in the winter, it's not the most pleasant place to sit outside and drink.
Yeah, but you got that little chimenea, and you had the fire going, and I was up there a couple weekends in a row.
So
and I had my parka on, and we had a great time.
Yeah, as long as you had a parka on, it was perfectly fine.
No, it was totally fine. It was awesome.
So on that level, is there a region within Germany that has inspired your brewing? I mean, do you go after certain German styles?
So I'm speaking for myself because my wife does not feel this way, but all the box. I love all the box. So basically Munich.
I like Helles box.
Bavaria.
Helles?
Yeah, she loves Helles and Maibach, which are basically the same thing.
She's not drinking my Maibach.
I did already, and it was delicious.
That one is so good. I'm drinking that like 3 times.
But for Germans, that's like my favorite style, like all of them. Doppelbock, Maibach, just Bach, like all of it. Love them.
So like on a higher level, bready kind of...
Right, like
he's
you
bringing
get a little
Lagerbach.
toast, a little...
He's bringing Lagerbach.
And the thing is those are lagers, and people don't think of those as lagers, right? They think, when they think lager, they think, American Pilsner, which is just one facet of that. No, so I think all the Bocks I love. I love any of the wheat
We
beers,
like a good Hefeweizen.
Dunkelweizen, Crystal Weizen, which we're gonna make a Crystal Weizen soon, just because.
Oh my gosh, you'll probably be the first ones in town.
Who has ever made one?
I don't
Yeah,
even.
seriously.
I don't
Like
even.
nobody makes
Nobody.
it, and it's like, I think I can make that. We'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe not,
It'll be on tap next week.
or
You
it
heard here
won't,
first.
or never.
Candy's beer, the Crystal
Candy's
Bock.
there.
The Crystal
Weizen.
Weizen.
Candy's Crystal Weizen.
Which beer was your first craft beer, and do you have a favorite?
So I think my first one, because I'm not from this area, neither is she, but I think my first craft beer that I ever had was Sam Adams Boston Lager. And I hated
never heard of it.
And I hated it.
Huh.
I had it.
Do they still brew it?
In
Are
Deep
they still
Ellum.
around?
Yeah, it's still around.
Huh. Little
Amazingly.
Boston Beer Company.
So I had that at Deep Ellum in Dallas, Texas, and I was completely just completely seduced by their advertising.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I'm gonna try that, and I absolutely hated it.
Oh,
Like,
that was back
I
when
did
Jim
not-
Cook used to take his shirt off on the
Oh
commercial.
yeah, it was
Jeff
super
loved that.
sexy. I still, that's always in the bank, but I absolutely hated it. This beer has way too much flavor. I don't know what's going on.
Oh wow!
I can't
So
handle it.
what year are we in?
This would have
This was
been
last year.
93.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. When you couldn't find, like we drank a lot of imports back then because you had to.
Oh, so living in Germany, like my parents were stationed in Germany, and then I would go back during college, and I would drink mostly export lagers from like Park Brow and stuff like that.
Right.
And I loved those, but I didn't. That beer, for whatever reason, the first time I had it, it was just not. I didn't like it. Same thing with Guinness. The first time I had Guinness, I was like, "Ugh, no, I'm not into it." And then next thing you know, I'm all in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff used to be like, I don't like the sour mash. No.
When I remember,
It's too horse blankety.
I was living in Southern California, and my wife and I went to San Diego, and when San Diego, and when we were there, we got a couple of pictures of Red Hook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, ESB.
Yeah.
ESB,
Oh.
And
fantastic.
and this would have been in the mid '90s, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is so freaking hoppy!" And hops used to give me these amazing headaches. And that night, like I literally I sent my wife out into these streets of San Diego to find me aspirin, and being the badass that she is, she went and did it. And I just remember now I drink ESB, and I'm like, does it have hops in it?
Oh, I know.
Like,
Seriously.
yeah, right. So it's just
Seriously.
it's a conditioning.
In college, I was drinking the ESB and the Big Ballard.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are so hoppy. And now I'm like,
Now you're
no,
like,
these are
well,
pretty
yeah.
mild.
Yeah.
Pretty mild.
Nothing in there.
No.
I did the same thing with Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yeah.
It was too hoppy.
Yeah.
I was like, what does that taste?
And it was at the
It's
time. It
hops.
was mind crushing. It was unbelievable.
And then
now,
and then we had no idea Racer 5 was coming years later, and we were like, oh, so much hop.
right.
Or
I'm done.
palette wrecker from Green Flash.
Yes. Yes.
I can actually not taste anything anymore.
No.
That's cool.
Everything after this tastes like a Budweiser.
Yeah. Here's our last question. How do you avoid the beer gut?
I don't.
I don't, obviously. She does.
This might have been a question for Candace
I think
because
so.
I think the
All
three
of
of
us
us
have it.
can
Yeah.
represent pretty well.
I feel like we're doing pretty well
So,
on the beer gut.
Yeah, I'm
Candace,
very svelte. I work
Candace,
out 15
we're gonna-
minutes a year.
we're going to default to you on this, Candace. How do you avoid
I feel
the
very
beer gut?
flattered about this.
How do you do it?
I
Do
don't
you
eat.
exercise?
I don't eat.
You
I
don't
just
eat.
drink.
All right.
Liquid beverages.
You know?
Liquid meals.
Hey, you're
Salad.
part monk. I mean, hey, they did it. Well, folks, it's closing time. And a time that is revealing the mistakes that we have made and focusing on progress, growth, and expansion. It is warming to be reminded of the satisfaction that can be found in a pint enjoyed in a comfortable, simplistic setting. Cheers to the farmhouse breweries. Cheers to the folks committed to preserving the art of craft. Cheers to people who treasure that art, and cheers to all the precious things. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for tonight. Thank you. Thanks for our special guests, Jeff and Candace Clark of Precious Things Fermentation Project, and to Dave Basaraba of Mountain Lakes Brewing Company. Thanks to our wonderful server, Chris Barton. And thanks to all of you for being here. I am Chris Cindric. Good night and joy be to us all. Woo!